switch the scene correctly and welcome everyone. Welcome in the chat to this best of 5 series between Shark Slayer and TheeHank for the Australian Open. We're spectating here Division A, a couple of Division A players, and they're in Group 3, and we're still in the first rounds. So what have we got here? Well, the settings for the first game, of course, blind random and team random civilizations. So the map, looking at it right off the bat, seems like we have a Scandinavia, and just searching around, I can't actually see any berries, which certainly leads me to think that it is indeed Scandinavia. There's a lot of snow, there's a lot of deer, there are no berries, and there is water toward each end of the map. So indeed we do have Scandinavia. So let's have a look at the players and let's see what civs they have randomed here. So down to the sort of southwestern sort of area of the map. In the blue, we have Shark Slayer, the Australian competitor in this matchup between these two fantastic titans of the Trans-Tasman Battle, and he is playing today as the Koreans. His opponent up to the northern region of the map, playing in the red trunks, is the Kiwi boy, TheeHank, or I'm just going to call Hank for the remainders of this set of games. And he, of course, is also playing as the Koreans, based on the fact that it was a team random civilization pick. So the map, like I mentioned before, Scandinavia, very interesting map. As we can see, there is water. There's water on each edge of the map for both of these guys, and it is quite common to see docks come up because obviously you do want to try and get access to this nice deep fish, for example, up here that Hank has got, to try and supplement your economy and help your food income as the game progresses. And it's also not uncommon. It's also not uncommon to see a few sneaky villagers going over and building docks, and your opponent's wee stretch of water to start whittling away at their fishing ship economy. But let's have a look at Hank's map first, because we're already over in his on his base. Let's have a quick look at what's going on here. So we do see he has main gold out on the front of his base. A little bit detrimental for him. A tower or anything coming up in this sort of area here is going to zone him pretty conclusively off that gold, but in saying that, he should be fine because he can wall quite easily out to this left hand side of his base, which would secure the secondary stone that he has over here as well. Towards the back of his base, we do see a couple more boar. We see, pardon me, we see his main stone, or one of his stones, secondary gold, and another stone out towards the front of his base, but that looks like it's starting to lurch into Shark's territory, so I could be incorrect in saying that, but I'm not sure at the moment. All I know is that in between these two players, there's a lot of gold, there's a lot of stone, and these guys are really, really close to each other. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Hank does decide to do here as the Koreans. Obviously, Koreans are fantastic trushing civilization, owing to the fact they build towers faster, they get the tower upgrades for free, and they also can mine stone a little bit quicker. But before we go into the strategy choices, let's have a look at Shark's map. Now Shark over here, he's got his main stone towards the back of his base, his main gold towards the front, and it's sitting on a hill as well. A little bit detrimental for him. Hill bonuses and such, never nice to try and deal with if you do get zoned off those resources. What else have we got? Well, he's got a gold sitting in the back of his base, and I can almost imagine that, for example, this could be his an extra gold pile of his as well, meaning that this is Hank's, and this is Hank's gold here as well. One thing I do notice right off the bat, no, this is not Baltic, Phoenix. This is Scandinavia. It's definitely not Baltic. One thing I notice about Shark's map, which is a little bit unfortunate for him, is that he is sitting quite close to this complete and utter vast expanse of ice on which he cannot actually build anything on. So expanding his economy, expanding his base out toward the... Oh, that's messy. That's messy. But he's still kept his scout alive. No, has he? No. Oh, something died. What died? I heard a death. I don't know what the death was. Was it Hank? No, it wasn't Hank. Oh, there's been one death for... Oh, it was Hank. Okay, there's been a death for Hank somewhere there. Ball error. That's really unfortunate. Anyway, as I was saying, it's going to be a little bit difficult for Shark to be able to boom and expand into this little area here, owing to the fact that he can't actually build on it. Hank does not... yeah, Blue's map is not that great. He does have the forward gold, as well as Red having a forward gold here as well. But yeah, Shark, going to be a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of building his economy up and booming, whereas Hank here has not got that problem. He's a long way away from the is a long way away from the ice. Now it's also interesting to mention that Shark he's got his dock up, he's got fishing ships coming out already, nice, succinct, clean build order, whereas Hank is only putting up his first dock. Now, of course, I do like Hank's build dock position a lot better than his opponent's, owing to the fact that he does have access to more deep fish out here, and one just here as well, whereas Shark over here has got access to 2 deep fish only. A better dock position obviously would have been in the corner where we saw before. There was a heck of a lot of deep fish out here, an unsavory amount, in fact. But obviously that would be a little bit further for his villagers to walk. In the early game, villager efficiency is extremely key. Now, what sort of strategies are these guys going to go for? Well, to be honest, a drush or a man-at-arms rush would be something very, very strong to see, owing to the fact that they do have 3 boar that Treasure Cove here. They do have 3 boar. They do have a lot of deer, so food income. There's not going to be any real shortage of food for these 2 guys. So I would have been thinking potentially that something along the lines of some infantry rush could be possible. But of course, potentially, oh well, we can see barracks having been dropped for Hank, leaving a villager idle. Very, very strong opening for him. Maybe we're going to see archery ranges coming up as well. Both of the players now up on 20 and 23 villagers. Hank, pardon me. Hank is lulling behind a little bit in terms of villager count, and Shark, having clicked up to the feudal age, now going up on 23 villages, which would be a 24 population up, would it have been a land-based map. But of course, going up with 4 extra fishing ships and losing his scout now is Shark. Up he goes to the feudal age, and it will be interesting to see what he does go for. He could still go for men-at-arms, but he isn't moving any villagers over to gold yet. He's also not moving any villagers out to build a barracks or anything like that. Potentially archers is going to be on the cards. Hank still struggling to gather the food to click up, and as I say that, there he goes. He's up to the feudal age now as well, on the same amount of villages, but 1 less fishing ship than his opponent. Sorry, 2 less fishing ships, because his opponent doesn't have a scout anymore. So barracks coming up for Shark now at the front of his base, and Gazna pointing out a very good point in the chat. Red could quite easily wall up his base and make it a nice safe haven for himself to be able to take an advantage in that respect. And you're right, he definitely could, but it doesn't look like he wants to go for that just yet. He is creating a bit of a house wall at the front of his base here, which is always nice to see. But like I said, we can't see any aggressive buildings having been placed, except for a barracks here and a barracks also back at home for red, but no military production having been produced yet. It looks like it could be just straight archers, maybe straight skirms. We do have some builders coming over here for Hank. Are they going to be going to gold, indicating an archer rush? That's a lot of villagers going over to gold. So Hank looking like he wants to go archers. Shark now up to the feudal age. What's he doing? He's moving 3 villagers out to gold as well, potentially a little bit late to be able to get a nice archer build, and this is really, really sloppy from him. He's moving a lot of weak villagers out to gold as well. That's not exactly something he should be doing. Keep them at home, mate. Keep them home gathering the sheep. What are you doing? I'm sure there was a 5 HP villager, an 18, and a 16 HP villager out on his gold mine. That's going to be really, really rough for him. And now Hank has all the scouting information he needs. He said, all right, my mate, my my opponent here is going archers. He's going to wall up a little bit at home. We've got some villagers coming forward, probably going to drop down an archery range as well, and potentially a second one on the way very, very soon. Double bid axe now coming in. Pardon me, double bid axe now coming in as well for Shark, and the second archery range well and truly going to be coming up in this sort of area here for Hank. So double archery range production for him, as well as Shark back at home. Now this is going to be really interesting. Obviously Shark having got up to the feudal age a lot quicker than his opponent, and having access to, well, I suppose he's fished out his deep sea fish for the time being, but he still does have 2 extra fishing ships working overtime for him in his economy back in water. But here we go, Shark moving some villagers forward, and this could be really, really nice if he places a tower down in this region here. Like I said at the beginning of the game, that's going to zone Hank off his main gold. He doesn't actually have any other gold inside of his makeshift walls that he could take. But Hank, the man, he's done very well keeping his scout nice and active, and he should see these villagers coming forward, and if not seeing them coming forward. This is an interesting tower placement from Shark. Okay, so let's analyze it. I mean, it does zone off this gold here from Hank, sure, but Hank is not taking that gold for the time being, so it doesn't really matter. I think the biggest thing here is that if Hank is caught unawares of this initially, any archers, any skirmishers that are going to be coming across are going to have to go through this tower here, which means that Hank is either going to have to go around here to be able to get to the battle, to be able to get to the the opposition's base, or he's going to have to go straight through the tower and lose a lot of HP. And this is really just putting a bit of pressure on Hank. This is as a tower hop continues to go forward as well. There was the other likely option was that this is just a base tower that we needed, or that that Shark Slayer would have needed to make sure that he could keep tower hopping into his opponent's base. But of course, Hank is actually walled up here. He's not. No, he is. He's completely walled up around the other side as well. Of course, there's only a couple of palisades here, and they can go down pretty easily to some watchtowers with some archers firing upon it as well. And what is Hank's response? Well, for the time being, he should be pretty okay. He should be nice and confident, getting some skirmishes out, which is nice. It's going to mean that he can start seeding some more farms and to be able to keep those skirmishes coming out, potentially helping to up him just a little bit quicker. Villages and a couple of watchtowers firing upon this archery range of Hank, though, and he's going to have to deal with that somehow. Villagers obviously getting a bonus damage against buildings, and with the other units also firing at this archery range, the range will go down awfully quickly. So Hank is still going to be creating skirmishes, and all he has to do is just bring the skirmishes out on this side and be able to take down those archers without any trouble at all. Getting housed, a little bit unfortunate for the time being, but his eco, in terms of land-based eco and farming, is starting to look a lot nicer than his opponents for the time being. But in saying that, oh my goodness, Shark, up he goes to the castle age, obviously supplemented hugely by his 2 extra fishing ships, and potentially that was his plan all along, just to get into the castle age really quickly and get those crossbows, get those other upgrades and such, to be able to pressure Hank as Hank throws up a defensive watchtower inside of his base as well. Now, what can we see from Hank? Is he anywhere near the castle age? Well, no, he's not, and I don't really think he was expecting his opponent to be up this quickly either. And to be fair, I'm awfully surprised that Shark has managed to pull this off as well. But it's going to be interesting. He's going to be going up with a stronger economy than a fast castle economy, but a weaker economy than the one that Hank will have once he gets up. Did I do a game already? No, this should be the first game. This is definitely the first game between these guys. It's still 0-all. Yep, no, this is the first game. And we can see Shark moving his archers around now. No fletching, but double palisade walls is what he's going to be met with as he starts to traverse his way around this forest of Hanks. And for the time being, Hank is nice and safe. He's stalled the advance into his base here, and with double palisade walls and houses, Shark is going to find it a little bit difficult to get into Hank's base for the time being. Fletching coming in, definitely going to help him out as well, especially since the Castle Age upgrade is going to be coming in awfully soon as well. And Hank, he's getting there slowly. He pulled all of his villagers off gold, which is a good idea to do, since he wasn't actually creating archers, he was creating skirmishes, and those skirmishes now are being flooded across the map, and this is where it's going to get really, really dicey for Shark. Obviously, skirmishes don't really do any great deal of damage against villagers, but if Hank has the forethought to be able to click on these villagers here and see, holy crap, there's some weak ones here, he's going to get a lot of villager picks on the gold, and it's going to be really, really nice for him, and really, really difficult for Shark as well, considering he is up to the castle age, sure, but his economy, not the strongest economy that you would ever have seen. Now, of course, villagers can pack quite a punch against skirmishes. The skirmishes here from Hank obviously do not have fletching or anything like that, but here we go, the cheeky transport coming around, and the dock having been made as well for Shark, and he's going to be transporting his his archers around. Not really sure what the Castle Age upgrade was all about. He has to try and deal with these skirmishes that are running rampant inside of his woodline at the same time. He's going to start moving his archers across or around these walls of Hank, and this could be really, really huge and quite damaging for Hank as well. He does have some skirmishes back at home that he could use, but here we go. Is Hank going to react? How quickly is Hank going to react to the fact that he now has archers which are a lot more potent inside his woodline than the skirmishes that are inside, the skirmishes that he has inside his opponent. Shark trying to rush up a defensive watchtower inside of his woodline, getting denied. Hank losing 4 villagers so far. This hill advantage with the crossbowman upgrade coming in is going to be absolutely huge for Shark here. 5 villagers having gone down, and the villager lead still in Hank's favor, but it's not going to be that way for much longer unless he brings some. There we go. He's bringing some skirmishes over that now have fletching as well back over at Shark's base. It's not like Hank is doing no damage to him either. He's made Shark completely evacuate his base. And where is Shark actually going? If we switch over to his point of view, what is this cheeky beaky man doing? Well, he's building a lumber camp out on the on the woodline of his opponent here as Shark moves round to the deer gatherers, the hunters. Oh my god, this is huge. This is really detrimental, really devastating For Hank, this is just his villager number, man, is just plummeting, plummeting, plummeting. And those 5 archers, those 5 crossbows have done so much eco damage to Hank. But in saying that, Hank also done a lot of eco damage to Shark, forcing him to evacuate and move a watchtower, a lumber camp underneath the defensive stature that are these guard towers from Shark. Hank now clicking up to Castle Age as well, which is good because he needs something to get rid of these crossbows. The crossbows, Bodkin era having been researched as well. The skirmishes, for the time being, should really be brought home, in my opinion. They've done the damage in here. They need to come home. They need a help starting to. They need help. I mean, they need to help starting to clear up this just horde. This beginning to be a horde of crossbows inside of his base. But for the time being, Hank is doing fine. He's in an absolutely okay position. He's behind on villages, which is the only bad thing, really. He lost so much economy at the back of his base. Really not what you want to see at all. And of course, these watchtowers here are gonna, these guard towers now, even since the Koreans obviously get them for free, going to be really, really nice for him. For Shark, that is, and this is really clever as well. The skirmish is not going to be able to come home anytime soon, as a siege workshop gets thrown up just outside the TC of our Australian player Shark here, and boxing his opponent in. The siege workshop is only going to absolutely flatten these skirmishes once he gets up to the castle age. Now, what's Shark doing? Well, he's moving his crossbows underneath the watchtower. Obviously, murder holes not having been researched yet for Hank. He's moving his crossbows underneath the watchtower of Hank, and idling a little bit of Hank's economy. And now the fact that this army back here inside of Shark's economy is rendered completely useless, at least until this 150 HP house has been taken down to set them free. But Hank, of course, garrisoning inside the town centre, taking down a good number of those crossbows, and a couple of skirmishes having been thrown out from his archery range. If Hank decides to actually fire at these crossbows, we'll be able to clean them up in no short supply either. Castle Age upgrade now coming in, or now having been researched for Hank. And it will be interesting to see what upgrades he goes for, if any. And here's the mangonel. Are we going to see the big baba boom? We are, but Hank is obviously he's gonna see it. He's keeping his crossbows, he's keeping nice and alert, but this is more or less just a zoo, and it's just these guys are just sitting ducks. You can try and micro to as much as you want, Hank, mate. But these skirmishes here, they've done a lot of economy damage to your opponent, but they are also going to get cleaned up inside of his base now. Really unfortunate for Hank there. The transport ship's still working overtime, still transporting crossbows around these defensive walls, and obviously rendering them completely and utterly useless for the time being. And again, the mangonel getting the shots off. Oh, I see what Hank was doing. He just wanted to get rid of this. Lumber camp, which is super strong play. And here we go. This is exactly what normally happens as well. The sneaky dock, the fire ships coming out and starting to deal with Hank's just previously idle fishing ships there. Now Sharkslayer in a pretty commanding position in terms of economy. I think we saw an extra town centre being thrown up outside his main gold. Yes, we did, and the same can also be said for Hank. So both players here are going to be up on 2 TCs as Hank throws up a siege workshop pretty much in the same location, or more a very similar location as to the siege workshop that Shark decided to do as well. Now we see another town centre coming up for Shark, so this 14 villager lead that he currently holds, sorry, can't count, looking at the wrong thing, the 10 villager lead that he holds at the moment is going to be extended and advanced upon. Now, what else is going on the map? Well, not really anything, to be honest. The fire ship of Shark hunting down those fishing ships, which, you know, it's fair enough. You want to get rid of the fishing ships for your opponent, but at the same time, there's not really any use for the fishing ships anymore. I mean, yeah, Hank's already not mined out, but cleaned out most of his supply of deep sea fish. Although in saying that, there are a couple of deep sea fish here, but it's really quite key. One archery range actually being taken down here, and Hank is in a really, really detrimental position. Obviously, a couple of defensive mangonels coming out would be really, really fantastic for him at the moment. The Koreans obviously getting +1 range on the mangonels makes it just that little bit easier to be able to try and able to try and whittle away at any crossbow numbers that are out on the field for your opponent. And still more crossbows buzzing around inside Hank's economy, and he really should be getting rid of them. I mean, obviously, I suppose they're not really doing too much. They are zoning a little bit of wood, which, to be fair, is actually quite a pain in the neck because Hank's only other wood that he can take really is this one over here, and eventually these two guys are going to chop through. It's almost as if they're playing hideout or Mitchie or something like that. But these trees are going to disappear sooner or later. And Hank managing to clean up these pesky crossbows outside or inside of his base, as we see now that more crossbows are starting to waltz freely into his base. Well, I say freely, but under fire of one of these guard towers from Hank. And does Hank have Bodkin Arrow? No, he does not have Bodkin Arrow at all. Fletching only having been done, whereas Bodkin Arrow has been done for Shark. Obviously the 8 range to the 7 range for the Mangonels versus the crossbows here. That's going to mean that Hank is going to have quite a nice time cleaning up these crossbows, and a huge shot, absolutely huge. Shark paying just enough attention to get half of his army out of there just in time, but unfortunately one half of his army does disintegrate and eat the dust. Now what is going on? We can see stables coming in now as well. Is this going to be a huge night play? It's going to be interesting to see how that one does go down. Shark not sitting on a heck of a lot of food at the moment, having seeded a few more farms, obviously going to help that out. But I don't know whether knights are going to be incoming here, or whether he's just getting the stables out for any potential upgrades for... No, there are knights. Okay, there are the knights coming out. Now this could be very, very interesting as well. Obviously the only sort of defense that Hank has at the moment is one mangonel and now some stone walls that the Koreans are so apt at building. So if he can get any knights into the economy here, into Hank's economy, he's going to be in a really, really nice position. Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that he does have map control on Hank's side of the map as well. So 50 villages it is to 44. So Hank somehow managing to pull back the villager deficit just a little bit. I don't think he's up on an extra TC. As I say that, he's throwing up an extra one at the back of his base as we speak. But for the time being, scale barding armor coming in for Shark Slayer, and he's going to be sending those +1 defense knights into the economy of his opponent here to see what damage he can do. And this could spell disaster for Hank. Obviously the mangonels are not going to provide any sort of definitive counter against the knights. Okay, so now, what have we got here? Well, we have one mangonel moving around to start trying to take out this this fire ship that's starting to be a bit of a pest. And there we go, fire ship having been taken down. What is Hank's eco looking like? Well, Hank's eco is starting to look a little bit boxed up, and this is another thing as well. The Shark having taken map control for the time being, at least, means that he can start pushing out and branching out and taking the extra resources, the extra gold piles, the extra stone piles on the map as well. Hank, however, having been boxed into this little area, means that he does not have, he cannot say the same thing. So now we see the +1 knight starting to move around, looking for a way to get into Hank's economy, to get into Hank's base, and could be a potential of an overchop. Still 50 wood left on that tree there. Obviously a couple of a decent amount of knights can chew through some palisades quite easily and quite quickly, but the thing is that Hank is going to be able to re-wall behind this quite easily. And what is Shark doing? I'm not entirely sure. He has an idle transport ship over here. Why not transport some knights around? Why not send them into the economy that way instead of buzzing around outside of your opponent's base doing absolutely nothing with your army? I don't actually know what's going on, but we can see a house wall being thrown up behind the palisades, as well as a stone wall to boot, which is more or less what I was talking about before. Fourth town centre boom for the greedy Australian player here, and he's going to be in a really good spot to be able to sustain and support this knight production as well. But mangonels have higher stats than knights. Shouldn't they win? They should win, yes, but unfortunately they don't. And I hope that Shark manages to transport these knights around into the economy of Hank so that we can see it as well. Now drop a TC on that stone by the westernmost woodline to provide cover. I assume you mean for Hank, and do you mean this woodline here? I'm not entirely sure. He's got a TC on that woodline. I don't know if that's the TC you're referring to, but a couple of crossbows about to be flattened by one of these Korean mangonels, and now I can only imagine that finally he's starting to bring his Shark is starting to bring his knights around here to this side of the this side of Hank's base, transport the knights around, and let's see what Pyro's prediction, or how Pyro's prediction is going to hold. Mangonels versus Knights with +2 armor coming in on them just now as well. Let's have a look. Let's have a look and see what goes down. And this is exactly what I was saying beginning of the game as well. Shark not able to actually boom into this area owing to the fact there is a whole lot of ice there, so map control is always going to be a big issue for him. Obviously he could boom out into this area as well a little bit, but most of it is taken up by trees and ice and such as well. Fire ships coming out for Hank, looking to take back a little bit of map control, a little bit of water control rather, on his side of the water. And it's going to be, if he had done this just a little bit earlier and taken out those pesky transport ships, then he wouldn't be in the situation where he has +2 knights running around. It's running around inside of his base. Hank obviously garrisoning inside of his town centre. Still no bot get arrow having been done on these town centres, so not doing the maximum amount of damage that he could do. Siege workshop being thrown up on the front for Hank. Sorry, not for Hank. For Shark, as Hank decides to throw up. Oh, the westernmost wood line. I'm not entirely sure where you're referring to. There's a lot of westernmost wood lines, and he's got quite a few secure wood lines as I can see for the time being, but he's also thrown up his 5th town centre as we see Hank throwing up a defensive castle. It's nice. It's going to provide a little bit of a defensive stature and a very important part of his economy. It's going to more or less stall any sort of aggression coming in here from Shark. It's going to be able to clean up these knights pretty succinctly and pretty effectively as well. But the fact remains that the villager count 35 for the time being. For the time being, and all we need to see now from Shark is just getting up to the Imperial Age, and he's getting awfully close as well. Like I said, the 5 TC boom is going to be a little bit delayed in his Imperial Age time, into the fact that obviously every 30 seconds he's spending more food on villagers. But once he gets up to the Imperial Age and punches a hole in these walls, defeats this castle and razes it to the ground, his mighty +2 knights are going to be able to wreak havoc inside of Hank's base. And Hank not really having too much of an answer to this at the moment, as his only military production building gets taken down. And there we are, Shark advancing up to the Imperial Age now as well. More and more siege workshops is what we really want to be seeing. And we can see now, woohoo, the war wagons coming out for Hank. Huge costly investment, and obviously he does have to do something to get these knights out of his base and out of his economy. But man, sinking resources into war wagons is just such a costly venture. It's going to be really difficult for him to be able to sustain the military production that he needs to be able to compete with an Imperial Age opponent. As we can see that Shark Slayer is going to be getting to the Imperial Age in a matter of moments. So at this stage, it's looking really dicey and looking really difficult for our player from New Zealand. Unfortunately, as Shark just adds insult to injury, starts taking down the farms and the mills as well. Iron Casting coming in for the +2 attack on these knights. And for the time being, it's just a waiting game at this stage. I don't really think there's too much of a way to come back for Hank, but you never know. He could pull something out of his. He could pull something out. But of course, if he was going to be pulling something out, then he would have to be up to the Imperial Age much before his opponent to have any sort of a way back into this. And we can see Shark throwing a castle up on the western side of on the western edge of Hank's base here. And that's going to be really nice for him as well. Castles are obviously going to be able to produce trebs and going to be able to completely demolish and raze everything that Hank holds dear to him. 25 wood left on this tree, so there's a potential for an overcut there. And Shark doing a really nice job keeping these knights alive, just buzzing around inside of Hank's economy, idling some economy here, idling some economy there. It's just going to further delay Hank's, I don't want to say inevitable... I don't want to say the inevitable defeat here, but it looks like that's what could be happening. Is Hank going to GG on the Imperial Age upgrade? No, he's not. It looks like he's going to stick it out for just a little bit longer and see what he can do. And speaking of that, we see 2 trebuchets coming out straight away for Shark, and he's going to be able to start just completely demolishing everything that Hank holds true and dear to him. I don't know what all these knights are actually doing, just chilling around outside doing nothing here. There are many, many places that he could be putting them to use. Potentially he's just waiting for the holes to be busted inside the walls. I don't see why the Cavalier upgrade is not coming in either. We love to see Korean Cavalier almost as much as we love to see Korean Hussars as well. Now Hank building another castle. I can only imagine this is a defensive castle right inside his economy, and I can say that quite confidently because there's nowhere else really that that he can actually build his castle because he has no map control. And there we go, the Cavalier upgrade now coming in for Hank. Sorry, not Hank, for Shark, but Hank surprising all of us and clicking up to the Imperial Age with a very, very bigger economy than what I would have thought. But Shark building another castle, and where is he doing it? I cannot see. It's out on the front. Here we go. Big time castle coming in now, and Hank's castle coming under fire, and obviously the only sort of defensive stature or defensive units he had with these war wagons, but throwing up some barracks in the back of his base, meaning he's going to be wanting to go down the pikeman and halberdier route. Obviously he sees or maybe assumes that his opponent is going to be going for knights and down that cavalry line, going ahead going ahead and going for those helps going to be a payoff really, really well for him as the game goes on. But this castle here under fire, Zero Empires always says, once the trebs are popping, the castles are dropping, and that is never rung as true as it is right now, as this one of the defensive castles here for Hank is going down, 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 and in come the Cavalier as well, +2 defense on these big bad beasts, and in they go, starting to wreak havoc inside of the economy. Of Hank, and Hank just getting forced further back and back and back towards any sort of area of his economy that he can keep himself safe. But for the time being, I mean, at this stage, it's not looking too good for him. He does have one knight that he converted at the back of his base. That's about it, and a couple of war wagons here, but that's about it. And another siege workshop being thrown up inside of the economy of Hank, and obviously these Cavalier are going to be able to take down these town centers, going to be able to start helping to take down the castle that Hank is inside of his base, but Hank recognizing the situation and calling GG, and thus allowing Shark to take the first game in this best of 5 series between these two guys. So well played to Shark, just all round a lot more aggressive, and yeah, Hank just not quite making the right decisions, didn't go heavy enough into water, just wasn't up to the castle age quickly enough, didn't take advantage of all the deep fish that he could have, and at the end of the day, the castle age upgrade for Shark managed to pull it off and managed to make it a lot more worthwhile than perhaps a lot of us had anticipated. So we'll change the score over real quick, so Shark Slayer can be going up with the score lead for the time being. We don't know what the overall score is for this one, but we'll do that. We'll switch over the scene back to the lovely, beautiful overlay, and we'll come out of the game room and get ready for game number 2.